This is Ukraine's brand new behemoth strike drone, publicly unveiled by Ukrainian firms Culver Aerospace and GLEFA. It looks a lot like the Iranian-designed Shahed drones that Russia uses, but Ukraine has tailored this specifically to dismantle Russian logistics. Reverse engineering is something we see across the board, not just in the war between Russia and Ukraine, but we also saw the Americans reverse engineering the Shahed drone whenever they were carrying out their attacks on Iran. This thing is a beast. It carries a heavy 75-kilogram tandem warhead, combining an armoured pacing penetrator with a devastating thermobaric charge. It flies incredibly low to slip under Russian radar, operates autonomously, and can even be steered manually via Starlink. It has a range of up to 300 kilometers, placing it right at the top of Ukraine's exploding middle strike arsenal. This isn't just about a single new weapon. It represents a massive shift in how Ukraine is fighting. They're no longer relying on a few rare bespoke systems provided by the West or not provided by the Americans at times. Instead, they've built a complete ladder of drones for different distances and targets. You've got the smaller Morrigan drone hunting logistics corridors. You've got the massive FP2 carrying a colossal 200-kilogram warhead out to 370 kilometers. And you've now got the behemoth. It moved from its first public reveal to active battlefield use in record time, successfully hammering the Chongar Bridge to choke off Russian supplies to the southern front. Think about the strategy here. Russia is turning out an estimated 30,000 attack drones a year across a network of 21 firms. But instead of trying to shoot down 30,000 drones in the sky, Ukraine is using middle strike weapons like the behemoth to hit factories making them. They've already struck a drone factory in Tangorog, a missile plant in Tambov, and a facility manufacturing navigation antennas deep inside Russia. It is simple, brutal maths. Why waste £1 million cruise missile when a cheap, low-flying drone can blow Russia's weapons to bits before they ever leave the factory floor? Now contrast Ukraine's high-tech drone ladder with what the Russians are doing on the ground to survive. Look at this. It looks like a joke, but it's dead serious. Russia is now painting its supply and troop transport trucks with zebra stripes. This is happening because Ukraine's breakout strategic success this year has been its mid-range drone strikes, which quadrupled between February and May. Kyiv is wreaking havoc on Russian logistics up to 112 miles behind the front line using American-made Hornet drones. These drones use AI trained on thousands of hours of footage to automatically recognize Russian military equipment. To break up that digital silhouette, Moscow has dug all the way back to the history books to a First World War tactic called dazzle camouflage. And the description doesn't stop with zebra stripes. Because Ukrainian drones are hunting so deep behind the front, Russian forces have also begun disguising their heavy military transport trucks to look exactly like ordinary civilian delivery trucks. This Ural truck was spotted with a blue paint job. They're even adding fake commercial branding and civilian registration plates to blend in with everyday traffic. A century ago, the Allies painted thousands of warships these exact types of wild geometric patterns to confuse German U-boat commanders. Today, Russia is reviving the concept to trick the AI optical sensors on Ukrainian drones. But you may have also seen this sort of pattern somewhere else on the motorways of the UK or the motorways across Europe, because car manufacturers, when they're testing their latest models and don't want the details to fall into the hands of the filthy press, will use the same sort of dazzle patterns to confuse people. So it's good to see simple tactics coming out again, but not good that the Russians are using them to deal with AI. I'm sure the Ukrainians will find a solution to that very quickly. But this joins a long list of weird battlefield adaptations we've seen, like the turtle tanks covered in metal sheds and vehicles fitted with whirling cables to swat drones out of the sky. Will zebra stripes work? Analysts are highly skeptical. If a drone is using a thermal imaging camera, the paint is completely useless. And because a human operator is still making the final targeting decisions, a weird paint job won't stop them pressing the button. It is a clear sign of absolute desperation. The Kremlin knows that supply lines are completely exposed and they are resorting to century-old tricks just to keep their trucks from being blown to pieces. And again, modern technology brings these multiple sensors together. You've not just got what the AI brain sees, but the thermal image, the optical image, combined with other patterns that can look at possibly even a radar image for the truck with, as we've said, the human operator making a final decision. Nice try, but it's not going to work. And of course, this is something that in my military career we considered as well. I remember during the Cold War, we were deploying, and this was before I became an intelligence officer, I was an electrical and mechanical engineer. We deployed workshops out to provide that mechanical and electrical first aid to all of the equipment that would have been fighting the Russians. We had to deploy into industrial areas because we could hide our thermal signature in normal factories. We had to deploy into built-up areas because our vehicle movements were around the place. We had big cranes, we had big pieces of kit, and we even considered painting our cranes the same colour as German civilian cranes, or as yellow as we see across in civilian cranes in many other countries. This is nothing new. This is something that's considered by militaries in just about every conflict that there is going. And of course, when you understand the sensors that are there, you can improvise to confuse those. I remember during the conflict in Kosovo, the Serbs were fantastic at carrying out deception operations. And one of the things that they identified very early on was the fact that microwave ovens gave out a similar signature to air defense radars, and they'd take the door off a microwave oven, tape over the micro switch and switch it on, and watch very expensive anti-radiation missiles coming from Western aircraft destroying many hundreds of microwave ovens. Deception is a critical part of warfare, and it is something that Sun Tzu in his Art of War talks about as well. As Sun Tzu says, the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. This clip shows Ukraine's art of war tactics in motion. We're looking at the Potrasov airfield deep inside the Ryazan region of Russia, more than 300 miles from Ukrainian-controlled territory. That tiny speck is a Ukrainian FP-1 long-range strike drone. A Russian military channel leaked this footage. An independent analysis has already geolocated the blast. It wasn't a strike on regular military planes. Ukraine bypassed those to hit the Protos Scientific and Production Center, a specialized drone facility operating right on the airfield grounds. This site houses over 50 resident companies dedicated entirely to developing, testing and manufacturing Russia's unmanned aviation systems. It is a critical node in the state-directed supply chain that feeds nightly drone attacks on Ukrainian cities. The FP-1 drone used here carries a massive 120 kilogram warhead and can fly up to 1,600 kilometers. By launching precision operations this deep into the Russian heartland, Ukraine is striking the factories before the weapons can even leave the assembly line. In military planning, we look at the entire kill chain, the sequence of events from the moment a weapon is manufactured to the moment it is fired in the battlefield. But even earlier than that, the components that go into the weapon, and this is linked to many of these factories. If you only fight the weapon at the very end of that chain, when a missile is already flying towards a city or a drone is buzzing over a trench, you're playing a reactive and incredibly expensive and incredibly dangerous game.